Well, good morning. Hello. I'm Laurine Garaude. I'm director of MIP Markets, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you for the launch of this MIPCube. We're very excited to be here. We've been planning it for months, and thank you for being here. We have over 500 participants registered to MIPCube from 45 countries, so thank you very much. You in this room represent the new TV ecosystem, and we are so excited because what we want to do here, our goal in these next 2 days, is to bring you together to exchange, first of all. Second, to discover new innovation in many, many different forms. And third, and probably most importantly, to really build together this new international community and to feel it as a community. So we've created this program with that in mind. It's a very rich program here in this visionary room, in the Innovation Agora right over there, in the connected lounge, in the cafe area where it's so important to network, because that's what it's all about. And you'll notice outside we have tables and chairs so you can hang out there too. And there's a yacht. Unfortunately, it's not for us all. It's for the developers for the TV Hack Day, which is starting now. So we have a dozen of developers who are going to be working day and night until tomorrow, where they'll be presenting their results for you. So we'll see what they come up with. So important also is for you to participate actively in all this. We look forward to your thoughts. So speak up, tweet, let us know what you're thinking. It's really important. Before I begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Vivendi, global sponsor, and all our other sponsors and partners. It's great working with you, and lovely to have them. And I'd like to present the team who's been behind this for many months. Many of you know Anda Kerkhoff, who's director of the entertainment division at Redesign. Lucy Smith, who's director of our conferences, right over there. All our conferences, MIP TV, MIPCube, MIP Doc, MIP Formats, very busy lady. And Sarah Hemar, who's the executive producer of MIPCube. Sarah, where are you? Oh, there you are. So you're going to see her a lot these next 2 days. Yes, bravo. And all MIPCube team, please stand up if you're here. They're all wearing a little badge. And their goal is to, well, there are more of them, but how about you? They're everywhere. When you see a MIPCube badge like that, they're there to help you connect, because that's what we really want to achieve in these next few days. So now that, before we begin the real stuff, I'd like to do a little warm-up exercise. Introduce yourself to the person nearest to you on your left. Just talk a few minutes, and then tweet. Get their Twitter handle and tweet on the tweet wall. You have 2 minutes. Somebody keep track for me of 2 minutes. So now, we're starting the real thing. I'm going to introduce to you with great pleasure Robert Tercek, who will be moderating this morning. And Robert is a long-standing friend of MIP, and he is president of the consulting called General Creativity. He's a very prolific creator of interactive content across all platforms, satellite TV, game consoles, broadband internet, mobile, very prolific creator. And he was president of digital media at OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, and also SVP of digital media at Sony Pictures Entertainment. It's a delight to introduce to you Robert. Where are you, Robert? There you are. Yes.
Thank you. Laurine, it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Let me
Thanks.
bow out.
Sorry. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back at MIP. I'm thrilled to be in Cannes. I love this show. I love the fact that it brings people from all over the world together. And I'm also excited about this show. Now, this year, this group here is growing. Last year, we had a smaller event. It was across the street. And now it's growing a little bit. And so Laurine used an interesting and important word. The word is ecosystem. Some people have wondered, why has it taken so long for the internet to start to affect the TV business? And how is it that the TV business has been able to be so resilient in the face of all the changes wrought by the internet? And that's because TV has a very robust ecosystem. Right next door, there's a great big building where for the next 3 or 4 days, you're going to see a tremendous amount of business being done in that old ecosystem. What you represent is the brand new ecosystem, the ecosystem that those old TV producers are beginning to come to grips with. I'm excited to join you on this journey. This next couple of days, we're going to explore every aspect of that ecosystem. And our first speaker today has prepared some very provocative thoughts about what the future of that ecosystem, that new TV ecosystem, must entail. So please join me in giving a great big welcome to Cindy Gallop, who's going to take us through a quick tour of the future of television. Welcome to Ken.
Guys, I should explain that when I started writing this presentation, I thought I had an hour to speak. Then I discovered it was only 30 minutes, and I had to downsize rapidly. So I'm going to cover quite a lot of ground very quickly, but I'm around all weekend. And so if any of you want to talk about anything that I raise in more detail, just tweet at me and let me know, and I will be very happy to have that conversation. Last month, Paul Graham, who is the founder of one of the largest and most well-known tech startup incubators in the US, put out one of his regular calls for startup concepts. He specifically requested startups with ideas designed to kill the movie and television industry. He asked, how do you kill the movie and TV industries? Or more precisely, since at this level technological progress is probably determined, what is going to kill them? He assumes that you are going to be killed because he, like a lot of other people, sees an industry that has gotten so big, it's gotten conventional, that has norms and rules and conventions, whose old world order business model is tanking, and which is therefore subject to that syndrome known as collaborative competition. Collaborative competition is when everybody in the sector competes with everybody else in the sector by doing exactly the same thing everybody else in the sector is doing, which is generally the perfect setup for disruptors and innovators to come not from within, but from outside. As per this quote from the Harvard Business Review, if you align your strategies to what everybody else is doing, be sure a single business bullet will take you all down. And actually, every dynamic I've just described is also true of movies, of music, of video games, publishing, advertising, and porn. I know a lot about porn. I date younger men. They tend to be men in their 20s. And through dating younger men, I encountered very directly and personally the real ramifications of the creeping ubiquity of hardcore pornography in our culture. Today, porn is more freely available via the internet than ever before. Kids are therefore accessing it at earlier ages than ever before. And so we now have a generation that, as I can personally testify, is growing up believing that what you see in hardcore porn is the way that you have sex. And it's exacerbated because we all have sex, we never talk about it. Parents are too embarrassed to teach children about sex. Schools and colleges run into issues if they try and make up the educational gap. And so hardcore porn has become, by default, the sex education of today. And that's not a good thing. So I launched 3 years ago a website at makelovenotporn.com that posts the myths of hardcore porn and balances them with the reality. The construct is porn world, real world. This is what happens in the porn world. This is what happens in the real world. I launched this site at TED. I took a deliberate decision to be very explicit in my TED talk because I knew that audience would not get this unless I was very explicit. As a result, everybody at TED 2009 remembers my talk. As one Twitterer said, it was the first time the words "come on my face" have been heard on the TED stage 6 times in succession. And there's been extraordinary response ever since, particularly, surprisingly, when this first began happening, from people in the porn industry, specifically Generation Y in porn. Gen Y in porn is like Gen Y anywhere else. Entrepreneurial, ambitious, questioning and challenging the old world order, want to be a part of the new. And so 20-something porn stars and porn directors reached out because they want a different future. And so porn is as stuck as every other industry in that old world order trap, where, as Clay Shirky says, businesses have a vested interest in perpetuating the problems to which they are the solution. And that is why I want to talk to you today about how you redesign your business model, redesign access, redesign production, redesign content, and effectively redesign your future. And I'm going to do all that in the next 25 minutes. So I want to start inside the box, quite literally inside the guts of how you do business. Because you cannot do New World Order business from an Old World Order place. It doesn't matter how great you think anything I say is, or any of the other speakers you're going to hear over these 2 fantastic days of MIPCube. It doesn't matter how inspirational any session is. It doesn't matter what brilliant ideas and innovative thinking you come up with as a result of these 2 days. If you take all of that brilliance, inspiration, and innovative thinking back to the office next week and plug it into the same old world order systems and processes, you will get exactly the same old world order crap out the other end. You have to redesign the way you do business. And effectively, that means you have to blow it up and start again. Now, I'm aware it's very easy for me to say that, standing on this stage, but there is a very simple way in which you can rethink how you structure your business. I get a lot of people coming to me for help and advice on life stage, career, business venture issues, and I always ask them to do the same 2 things. Identify what it is that you absolutely love doing, that you're passionate about. If you're in a job at the moment, be ruthless, strike from the record what you hate doing, identify what it is that you love, and sometimes, by the way, when you do that, what you love are not necessarily numbers 1, 2, and 3 in your job description, and then identify the conditions under which you love doing it. So you might go, I really love this, I'm great at this. I particularly love doing it when I only do it between these hours, when I only do it working for these kinds of people. Maybe when I only do it working with these kinds of clients. Maybe you particularly love it when you only do it from this 1 location, or these 2 locations. And then design a job, a venture, an opportunity around those 2 things. Because that way, you are living what you work, you're working what you live, and it never feels like work because you're doing what you love in the circumstances in which you most love doing it. This applies just as much to a business that has lost its way as a person. Too often you go, oh, we've got to do that because they're doing it. We've got to stick this bit on because they've got that. Identify what you're brilliant at, identify the circumstances under which you're brilliant at it, and restructure around that. And by the way, when you do that, that's enormously cost-effective because you strip out whole layers of overhead and cost. And that's useful when it comes to redesigning your business model. Your business can be anything you want it to be. Your business model can be anything you want it to be. Ask yourself, how would I like to make money? My motto in life is less work, more money. That's what we should all get to. So how would you like to achieve that? You don't have to stay with your industry's old world order business model. Make Love Not Porn has had such an amazing response that I'm taking it forward as a business venture. I believe the way you combat porn as sex education in a bad way is with porn as sex education in a good way. I am essentially taking every single dynamic that exists out there in social media currently and applying them to the 1 area that no social media network or platform has ever gone or will ever dare go, which is sex. I want to socialize real-world sex and make it socially acceptable and socially shareable. In the process of doing that, I want to redefine what constitutes porn, and I would like to be the future of porn. I like big goals. So I and my team are building what will launch in May as MakeLoveNotPorn.tv. It's built around a very innovative business model, and my single biggest operational challenge at the moment is that I can't find payment partners to work with me because I am what the world deems to be adult content. PayPal, Amazon, Google Checkout, all ruled out. This is so frustrating. I said to my CTO, we're inventing the future of porn. I want to talk to anybody who is inventing the future of money and payments. I want to find people who are as frustrated with this as we are from a different angle. Let's research every financial tech startup out there and find out who's inventing the future of money. And actually, the future of television is inextricably bound up with the future of payments, because that also allows you to completely redesign your business model. We're talking to Ben Milne, the founder of Dollar, which is a PayPal challenger. We're talking to Sahil Lavingia, the 20-year-old tech whiz kid behind a startup called Gumroad, which monetizes links. It enables anybody to sell any form of content through a link with a payment infrastructure. And actually, that is the way you should be thinking about how people pay for what you do. There are many different ways, and the future of money is also your future. And when you redesign your business model, you are what you measure. The old world order system of measurements, eyeballs, no longer applies, and in the absence of any tangible and universally agreed upon industry-wide measurement systems of the future, what would you like to be measured by? What do you think your particular value is? create your own measurement system. For example, what do you want people to do with what you produce, with what you deliver? What would you like to see as a result of it? I admit I'm biased, because I believe the future is about action. I'm a very action-oriented person. I observe, therefore, that the single biggest pool of untapped natural resource in this world is human good intentions that never translate into action. And there's another, equally large and powerful untapped pool, which is corporate good intentions. Because companies have good intentions too, but just like people, they find it really hard to find quick, easy, and simple ways to act on them, importantly, in ways that make sense for and help drive their business. So I started Ifwerantheworld, a platform designed to turn human good intentions and corporate good intentions into action, one micro-action at a time. So with Ifwerantheworld, you self-identify and self-express as, I am what I do. I am the sum of my actions, which delivers an overall benefit that I call action branding. Personal action branding for individuals and corporate action branding for brands and businesses. Because I believe that action branding is actually the advertising and marketing of the future. And so, whereas most future-forward brands have only gotten as far in their marketing programs as the level I call co-creation, they invite consumers to create content and share it. I'm all about the level beyond that, which is co-action. Brands and consumers micro-acting together to create impacts on the real world that benefit consumers, benefit society, and benefit the brand and its business. And in a medium as powerful as television, the action that can result in the light of what you do can be very, very powerful as co-action. When you design your business model, think about the long term as well as the short term. Fund the future to make the future fund itself. What I'm talking about here is what De Beers, the diamond people, are doing very effectively. They created Element 6, which manufactures synthetic diamonds. And then they created Element 6 Ventures, which funds startups and businesses that actually use synthetic diamonds as radiation detectors, as semiconductors. Fund your future in ways that ensure your future will be able to fund itself. Redesign access. You all know that this is how people want what you deliver now. What I want, when I want it, where I want it, how I want it. And actually, that's not about screens. Screens are a red herring. This is about flipping your access and distribution model completely. I just came from speaking at Promax BDA Europe in Barcelona, which is the entertainment marketing conference. Matthew Dodd of Nielsen gave a presentation there about cross-platform media monetization. And he mentioned during this presentation that he would pay for TV and online video. So after his presentation, I went up to him and said to him, under what conditions would you pay for online TV and video? And he said, I travel a lot, I miss a lot of the episodes of the series I want to watch. I would pay to have those delivered to me when I want them at a time when I can sit down and lose myself in several at a time. And by the way, he wasn't talking about going to the website and finding them. He was talking about an emotional mindset. There is money to be made from that emotional mindset when you deliver against it. Redesign production. The new marketing and business reality is complete transparency. Today, everything that a brand, and for that matter, a person does, is in the public domain, courtesy of the power of the internet. And if that thought terrifies you, actually the solution's very simple. And interestingly, it's exactly the same solution whether you are a person or a company. If you identify exactly what you are, what you stand for, what you believe in, what you value, and you then only ever behave, act, and communicate in a way that is true to you, then you never have to worry about where anybody comes across you or what you're found doing. Because by definition, you are never caught doing anything to be ashamed of. And so that's particularly important in a world where today we all have to move from doing good business to doing business good. People have to believe that this industry is a force for good if they want it to continue and if they want to be a part of making it continue. And so there's a real opportunity to open yourselves up and to democratize what you do, not in the obvious way, which is crowdsourced creativity, but in the less obvious way, which is crowd-sharing craft skills. There are many, many people who are fascinated by how you do what you do, by the expertise and the craft skills you evidence. Open that up, share it, regenerate the industry from entry level onwards. And in the process of doing that, you demonstrate your value and why you're worth what you want people to pay for you, because you have extraordinary craft skills that create extraordinary product. Showcase that. Redesign content. Nothing is harder to get financed than the original idea. That was Roger Ebert talking last summer about the phenomenon of sequelitis, the fact that every Hollywood blockbuster greenlighted today is a sequel or a double sequel or a triple sequel. And that's something that I have to say I can attest to myself. I've been talking recently to a number of networks and production companies about the idea of myself operating in TV and programming coming off Ifwerantheworld and Make Love Not Porn. And I cannot tell you the number of times I've heard, so Cindy, we're thinking Secret Millionaire meets Mary Queen of Shops. And that's because as the spoof Twitter handle, Lee Clow's Beard, which is a parody of Lee Clow, the renowned creative director of Chiat Day who worked with Steve Jobs on Apple, as Lee Clow's Beard said in one of its more entertaining tweets, the client wants something completely new and 3 examples of how it's worked before. You cannot create disruptive, phenomenal, innovative content when that is how you are thinking. What is stopping extraordinary, innovative, disruptive, redesigned content? Everyone's scared shitless, which is understandable. In a recession that is cutting as deep as this one currently is, across the US, across Europe, everywhere else in the world, people are terrified, and that fear communicates itself from the top. Robert Goldfarb wrote in the New York Times last year in a piece titled "When Fear Stifles Initiative," dedicated, ambitious workers feel it's safer for their careers to avoid innovation and initiative. Managers need to realize that this paralysis threatens their company's health. Employees hunger for leadership that will make it safe again to act creatively and decisively. If you want to redesign your future as an industry, you have to lose the fear. Fear is the single most paralyzing dynamic in business. Decisions made out of fear are always very bad decisions. And actually, you need to lose the fear before this happens. Apple TV. 2 words potentially to strike fear into anybody's hearts. And I'm not referring to Apple TV in its current incarnation. I'm referring to the rumors we're hearing about Apple TV as both hardware and software, as delivery mechanism and content. We don't know if this is true. There are rumors coming out of Silicon Valley, but we can be sure that if it is true, what this will be a game changer. And it will be a game changer in terms of both hardware and content. So you have a very interesting opportunity, particularly given that every single business regularly says to itself and others, we want to be like Apple. Now you have the chance to be like Apple before Apple is in your industry. And I believe there is huge opportunity. I'm an optimist. I believe that adversity brings out opportunity in very unexpected places. But I believe there is tremendous opportunity to put the vision back in television. And that opportunity actually lies within all of us. It lies within humanity. Let me explain what I mean. How many of you are familiar with one of my favorite websites of all time, textfromlastnight.com? Whoa, guys, only a few hands. Okay. Everybody, you have to go to textfromlastnight.com ASAP for 3 reasons. Text from Last Night was started up 2 years ago by 2 students at the University of Michigan. Its tagline is, remember that drunken text you sent last night? We do. It is entirely user-generated. It is your and your friends' drunken texts from last night, just uploaded to this platform. And I advise everybody to visit Text from Last Night because reason number 1, obviously, as you would expect, this site is screamingly hysterically funny. You'll be sitting at your computer with tears running down your face. Secondly, it is what I call modern poetry. It is SMS's art form, and when you go there, you'll see what I mean. But thirdly, at a much more serious level, Text from Last Night is an absolutely riveting socio-cultural snapshot of our times. Every possible theme of human behavior can be extrapolated from textfromlastnight.com. The way men talk about women, the way women talk about men, the pornification of culture. I get a lot of material for Make Love Not Porn from there. Every theme of human existence is there. If you want to know what your consumers are really doing, particularly if you're targeting Generation Y, then go to textfromlastnight.com. And Text from Last Night demonstrates that the buzzword of the moment, social media, social TV, social platforms. Social is simply all the same old human truths, attitudes, instincts, dynamics, just with a whole new methodology. People are the same as they always have been. They just have whole new ways of demonstrating it. As evinced by one of my favorite texts. So, let me get this straight. You would sleep with an uncircumcised guy whose name you didn't know, but you won't try the new shrimp taco from Taco Bell. That is the world we live in. And that is the world that actually I see tremendous opportunity for television in. As I mentioned, I just came from speaking at Promax BDA Europe in Barcelona, and so I attended the Promax BDA European Awards, which are given for phenomenal examples of marketing in TV, which enabled me to watch a huge amount of trailers, edits, content, your output. And that was an absolutely phenomenal experience. This is an extraordinary industry and an extraordinary medium. And right now, whatever you see online doesn't come close. And it's extraordinary because of its particular power. Your future depends on thinking differently about your power. And I want to give you an example of that. I go to the TED conference every year, and at TED 2010 last year, Chris Anderson, the curator of TED, gave a number of audience members the opportunity to go up on the TED stage for 2 minutes and respond to any one of the speakers that year they wanted to challenge. I wanted to challenge Bill Ford of the Ford Motor Company because he stood on stage and he talked about all the issues that the world faces of global gridlock, and he talked about the need for smarter cars and the fact that that is what Ford is placing their bets on for the future. And what I said to Bill Ford was, you told us, your ancestors said that if people had asked if you'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And now you are telling us that what we need is smarter cars. But the answer to global gridlock is not smarter cars, it's smarter public transportation. And that's a fantastic opportunity for Ford to completely reinvent their business and their business model, and to be about the future of mobility and the future of transportation, not the future of cars. When I was looking at all of that phenomenal material at the Promax BDA Europe Awards that represents your extraordinary output, I was looking at a mirror being held up to humanity. Whether that is through the news, whether that is through the arcs and the narratives of drama, whether that is the things that we all recognize in reality shows. What you do with your output is that you create empathy. You connect people in a way that no other medium does half as powerfully. You hold the mirror up to humanity and you enable us to look at and empathize with people on the other side of the world in extraordinary circumstances, in difficult circumstances, in stories, in settings that could not be more different from our own, and yet draw an extraordinary parallel analogy with who we are and how we feel. And that's a phenomenal power. Think about what you can do with that in the future, with your amazing ability to create and to deliver empathy. And also, think about what you can do with that together. I started this presentation talking about collaborative competition. I want to end it talking about competitive collaboration. Because the future of the world is collaboration. The future of business is collaboration in a way that we don't see currently. A rising tide floats all boats. You have an amazing opportunity in these 2 days at MIPCube and the days beyond at MIP TV to connect with each other, inspire each other. Yes, you're competing with each other, but you can also collaborate with each other. Bring your brains and your talents and skills together and create something extraordinary for the future of your industry together. My favorite quote of all time is from Alan Kay, one of the fathers of computer science, who said, "In order to predict the future, you have to invent it." I am all about inventing the future. There is no future that happens without us and rolls us all over in its wake. You can decide what you want the future to be, and you can make it happen. Every single one of you in this room has the power to do that. To do that for your own business, to do that for yourself personally, and also to do that for the industry as a whole. So please, go ahead and invent the future, because I would love to see that happen. I have now rocketed through this presentation speaking so quickly, because I was so terrified about running out of time, that I actually have a few minutes left. And I don't know if I'm allowed to ask the audience if anybody has any questions, or whether I should hold it there.
Sit down and take some questions.
Right,
that was excellent. Thank you very kindly for doing that. Well done. You rocketed through that material, as you say. That was great. Well, we have some time, and so we can actually take questions from the floor because Cindy moved at such a fast pace. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'd love to know what TV shows you watch and how you watch them.
So can you repeat the question?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So you're asking what TV shows I watch and how I watch them. And I have to say that I really empathized with what Matthew Dodd said to me at Promax BDA, because I love TV drama. I love sci-fi. I also, by the way, make a point of watching TV whenever I have a spare evening at home, because my background is advertising. I'm extremely interested in the future of advertising, and I actually watch TV for the commercial breaks, unlike a lot of people. But what I find myself doing is, because I travel so much, destination viewing in terms of keeping up with series at an appointed time every week is very difficult for me. And so I watch a combination of TV at home when I'm at home, and then I catch up online. But I would really love, I would love a whole different method of delivering what I want, when I want it, where I want it, how I want it, which is absolutely the opportunity to have some kind of personalized delivery system, so that, I really empathize with Matthew about the fact that there are times when I may not necessarily stop and think that actually this is when I could catch up on 3 back-to-back episodes of, True Blood or, or Revenge or whatever it is that I particularly love watching. I may end up surfing the internet instead. I may end up reading a book, and actually some kind of mechanism that recognizes when in my schedule I have downtime, and this would be a perfect moment, I would pay for that. I absolutely would. That has enormous emotional value to me. Does that answer your question?
Let me ask you a follow-up question, because you talked about what you'd be willing to pay for. And since you come out of the advertising industry and you just visited Promax, tell me, what business models are advertisers interested in supporting this new transmedia effort? Because there's a big issue here. The measurement metrics that we use for television are completely different from the metrics that we use for the web. And in many ways, the web's more accountable. We know with empirical precision what people are doing and how long they're looking at it. That's lacking in television. It's still a rough approximation. What is the perspective from the advertising industry towards transmedia, and how would they support it?
I'll be very frank, and I'll be very frank because I say this regularly. I have a presentation called The Future of Advertising that I give around the world, because I would love to help my industry reinvent itself for the future, which it's appallingly bad at doing. So my industry has a very benighted attitude towards this. The most future forward they've gotten in terms of the business model that they want to pursue is, historically, TV for advertisers was, we reach our audiences through your content, your delivery systems. Now it's moving to, we reach our audiences with your content, as in we play, and we want to play a much bigger role in terms of the content that we part own and are able to. I hate the term sponsorship. That's a very passive, old world order term. But something like the Unilever Fox deal around Touch is.
This experience is made possible by the company.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But as I say, I actually think that isn't future forward thinking enough. When I talk about the future of business being collaboration, I think there are really interesting opportunities for brands to collaborate with the television industry in much more meaningful and mutually beneficial ways that and what is still the old world order sponsorship model
Right on.
effectively
Well,
currently.
I know there'll be a keynote speaker from Coca-Cola at
A friend of
MIPCube.
mine, Jonathan Mildenhall. Yeah.
Exactly, and he's going to, part of his responsibilities at Coke are for content excellence, which is a term I just love in his title, right? He's like the executive in charge of content excellence. And it makes you wonder, what is Coke's perspective, Coca-Cola's perspective on content excellence? You know, these advertisers do realize they're aligning their brand with some kind of entertainment experience that people are going to enjoy or not. And there's going to be some splashback or spillover effect on their brand. So tell me a little bit about engagement and advertising, because I know that that's at the core of this transmedia, the monetization of transmedia.
Yep. No, and you know, it's interesting because, again, I would go back to my point about you have to restructure your systems and processes in order to own the future. So, so to take Coke as an example, Coca-Cola are inviting their community and their consumers to absolutely create content. And Coke recently showcased a user-generated ad for Coca-Cola, which was very nice, actually. It was very charming. It showed a young couple walking down a street, and a young man with nefarious purpose in mind rushes past them, snatches her bag, rushes down the street. The girl's boyfriend is in pursuit after him, you know, yells, "Somebody stop that man!" And so a street vendor opens a can of Coca-Cola, and instantly the thief stops in his tracks, you know, brings the purse back, and the three of them do a happy dance in the street, and it's open happiness. Now, that was a very nice scenario. That came out of Coca-Cola's audience. I am willing to bet, and I'm happy to have this discussion with Jonathan Mildenhall, I'm willing to bet that had that been created by one of Coca-Cola's agencies within Coca-Cola, somebody would have gone, "Oh, that ad shows criminal activity.
Yeah.
We cannot possibly create and air that."
Yeah.
So, so actually, I believe that brands and companies need to rethink how they operate themselves and open up their systems and their processes to a very different way of looking at how they can create content together with their communities.
And of course, that kind of self-censorship never happens at a broadcast network. They never think that way, of course.
No, of course, yeah.
Are there any other questions from the floor? I have to look out here and see. Oh, here's a question from Stuart.
Thank you. Hey, which traditional media and entertainment companies, if any, do you think have done a good job at redesigning themselves so far? Has anyone you'd hold up to say they've actually grasped it and done the hard work?
I often get asked this question, and you know, if I'm completely honest, I can't point to any shining examples at the moment. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you know, and I'll be very straightforward about this. I totally know that everything I've talked about is not easy, but because it's not easy doesn't mean you don't have to do it. Yes, it's easier to disrupt and innovate when you are a startup starting from scratch. One of the problems with that, by the way, and I observe this in this space as much as also my own industry, advertising, is that when new ventures and startups are founded by people who have very storied careers and reputations within the old world order industry, they care a great deal about what the old world order industry thinks of them. And that is a real inhibitor for true disruption and innovation. So no, to be perfectly honest, I can't point to any shining examples, but if anybody knows of any, then I'd love to hear about them.
Great question. Any other questions, please? Oh, here, yes, sir, in the tan jacket.
Hi, Cindy, Bill Gash of Uyala. You referenced sort of transparency and the need for sort of competitive collaboration and measurability. What are you seeing that interests you? What have you noticed works for marketers and works for media companies in terms of data, for example? Just some ideas you might have seen.
Sure. Well, what I'm noticing, and it's interesting because I'm talking next month to a client conference at Epsilon, who are basically, as historians may or not know, data experts and precision target marketers, and I guess what I do notice is that very unfortunately there continues to be a belief that there is some kind of conflict between creativity and data. In fact, this was just highlighted in a piece in Adweek literally a couple of days ago, coming out of the American Association of Advertising Industries conference in LA, the Transformation Conference, where a number of the speakers, Microsoft, someone from Microsoft was talking with Martin Sorrell of WPP on stage, other speakers, raise the conflict of, as it was posted in Adweek, creativity versus data. I believe that data can be enormously creative. And what I don't see is enough people understanding that and understanding how to creatively use data and work with data. So when I say you are what you measure, I think that's absolutely about the creative side of the industry and the data side of the industry coming together and identifying different ways of creating value that can be measured that are not trapped in the old world order way of the way we've done it. And unfortunately, I can't point any direct examples because I don't see any at the moment. But I absolutely believe that is what the future has to be about. Does that make sense?
One aspect of that that I could follow up on is the web and television have this one similarity in that they do measure audience behavior. It's just that the twitch reflex on the web is so much faster because you get the information in real time, whereas in television we have to wait for a sweep cycle and find the ratings, and then we'll make decisions about what shows stay on the air, which shows stay on the air, which ones go away after sweeps. And so the measurement cycle is very slow in television. It's, at the fastest, it's 24 hours. The next day you find out how your show did. But more typically, decisions we've made on a season basis. So from the advertising standpoint, how important is real-time data, and how important is it to know what people are doing right at this instant? I know that real-time dynamic ad insertion is extremely relevant these days on the web. Do you think that that'll have some pertinence in television?
Actually, I think real-time data is enormously important in a broader sense, because actually communication today is absolutely about being immediately responsive, reactive, interactive in real time. And so actually, over and above the measurement issue, as a brand, you have to be responding to the way people are talking about you, interacting with you,
right.
To communicate with you.
The way you would monitor your Twitter feed, for instance.
Precisely.
Right, okay.
So actually, I think it's incredibly important, and I do think that television measurement systems have to find a way of being able to slot into that, if you like, in a more innovative way than they have so far.
So here's another question for you. If there are other audience questions, I'm sorry, that gentleman in the corner there. Thank you.
Hi, Patrick.
Forgive us, we need sunglasses up here.
It's very
Hi.
bright.
Patrick Tao from Gallant Media Ventures. Thanks very much. We're trying to redesign the experiences around content, but one of the things when we speak to rights holders is the content word gets in the way because they're focusing on the content and because it's hard work to make it, whereas we believe the users are paying for the experience around, which is all the journey from discovering that it exists all the way to talking about it afterwards. How do you get rights holders to think less about content and more about experience?
I actually sort of all the way back out of that question to one of my fundamental personal philosophies is that people should absolutely realize the value of what they create. I guess I feel that particularly strongly because my career background is theatre and advertising, two sectors where great ideas and creativity are massively undervalued even by the creators themselves. And in a world that is moving to free access to everything online, I believe very strongly in, as I said, redesigning business models to enable people to realize the value of what they create. So when you ask that question, I go, you have to redesign the business model entirely so that the content creators aren't fighting their corner for the only way they see to make money versus what would obviously benefit everybody, which is a better all-round experience. And that's why, and I know it's very easy for me to say this, it sounds very glib, I say blow it up and start again. But it literally has to be that much of a radical reinvention of how your fundamental industry system works in order to get to that desired objective for everybody.
Great. Cindy, thank you very kindly for joining us today.
No, total pleasure.